Eric Lindros holds the rare distinction of being a player that changed the game of hockey. His size and skill put him in a league of his own, as he had the ability to dominate a game both physically
freight train hit by Lindros
and with his creativity.
Lindros scores!
He was a boy in a man's body from the time he was a teen. He dominated at every level of hockey growing up, but he would also prove to be a problem off the ice. Lindros wasn't happy after being taken first overall in the OHL draft by the Greyhounds. Lindros decided Sault Ste. Marie was too far from his hometown of London, so Eric sat out until he was traded to Oshawa.
I better take an umbrella or something because they're going to be spitting on me every time I go by their bench.
History repeated itself when the Quebec Nordique drafted Lindros first overall in 1991.
To be selected first overall, I'm just proud.
Lindros refused to play for Quebec and forced the team to deal him to the Flyers a year later.
I didn't want to be part of it, and I'm happy to be in Philadelphia. I'm sorry.
In that year, an 18-year-old Lindros suited up with the likes of Gretzky and Messier in the 1991 Canada Cup. The only non-NHLer, Lindros scored 5 points in 8 games, and more importantly, looked like he belonged. In 1992, the Big E made his NHL debut. He scored 40-plus goals in his first 2 seasons in Philly. It seemed Lindros could beat teams with one hand tied behind his back. In 94-95, he won the scoring title and league MVP honors in just his 3rd NHL season.
I'd just like to say thank you to the fans of Philadelphia who supported us when we weren't so good. We're getting better, and we're going to do it.
His prophecy nearly came true in 1997. Lindros led the Flyers to the Cup final. He was the leading scorer in the playoffs, but his Flyers were swept in 4 games by Detroit. While Lindros enjoyed a steady rise to the top, his descent was much more rapid.
And he's just dropped to his knees now. He is dazed fully.
Lindros often skated with his head down, and the big hitters in the league began to take notice. He suffered through a series of concussions throughout his career. The biggest one would end his career as a Flyer. It was a hit that defined 2 careers in one moment.
Lindros is belted by Stevens, and he is down immediately. A thundering hit, and this has got to be of real concern.
This is a scene that we've seen too many times.
Lindros sat out the next season, partially due to injury, mainly due to a bitter contract dispute with Philly.
I don't like what Eric did to this club, but my responsibility is to the Philadelphia Flyers, not to Eric Lindros.
The Big E was traded to the Rangers, where he spent 3 years, but he was never the same. He averaged less than a point per game and was dealt his 8th official concussion in January of 2004. Lindros toiled in Toronto and Dallas before hanging it up at age 34. All in all, Lindros played 13 seasons in the National Hockey League. He missed the equivalent of over 3 full seasons due to injury. And at the end of the day, the legend of Eric Lindros is one that has more questions than answers.